Hey, welcome to the Rubin Report. I'm Dave Rubin, but you can call me Carlos Danger. We have a great show for you this week. Did you hear about the royal baby? Did you hear there's a baby, a royal baby? Can you believe it? I've got two great guests for you. Jayar Jackson from the TYT All-Star team making his first appearance on the Rubin Report.
I'm just trying, man. You know, I gotta spread out.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And first time, you were the first time two-peat guest. You are now the first time three-peat guest. Miss Kelly Carlin is right here.
These have to be consecutive, right?
Yes.
There's never been a back-to-back consecutive guest, but maybe if you guys impress enough.
We could be really impressed today. We could make it.
Maybe it can be pulled off. All right, so let's get right to it. The big news of the week, the royal baby, and that of course pushes everything else out of the way. Kate Middleton and Prince William, they had a kid. The kid is now more powerful and richer than you will ever be. And CNN and all the other news organizations want you to know that. The coverage has been endless, and it's gonna continue. Even this morning, CNN had on their Chiron that uncle, who's the uncle?
Harry?
Uncle Harry. He plans on being a responsible but fun uncle. So
did it poop yet? Do we know? Have we
has
seen
there been
have
a
we seen
royal
the poop
poop
yet? Have we seen the poop?
I don't know. All right, so there's a lot of ways we can go with this, but let's just start with the general thing. What is our obsession as Americans with the royal family? It seems a little ludicrous considering we left England originally because we didn't want to be under the auspices of a royal family. What do you
I have
think?
theories about this.
Give me a theory.
So my theory is that we are a little jealous. You know, so our celebrities are royalty now in this country. But I really do believe that, you know, kind of archetypally, we have this king, queen thing that we want to have a relationship with. And they fit right in. It's like, oh, look, there they are. We can have that. And in America, we can kind of have our cake and eat it too. You know what I mean? It's like we don't have to have any royals. We get to borrow the royals if we like it.
Right,
you know?
but we sort of treat our presidents now, and especially Obama, as royalty, right?
Well, yeah, I guess, what's our benefit in doing it? At least our benefit in we have a royalty. Of course, there's the Bush family that have been, there's a few presidents.
actual royalty.
Yeah,
That's some great royalty. Yeah,
exactly.
The Bush family.
How embarrassing that is.
Yeah.
I mean, we went from HW to W, possibly Jed. And then Jeb, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How can I mess up the royal family?
There's definitely a Jed in there somewhere.
Yeah.
They're from Texas.
And now then we push our Clintons. We had a Clinton, and then it hiccuped for a second, but we might bring the next one back.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we have to have this connection to this same group to feel this reverence to, and we do it with just our politicians in general, which is why politicians can't do anything human and mess things up, because we're like, well, you're a politician. Well, yeah, it's fine, but we see this royal family as immaculate.
Yeah.
They have now a perfect baby.
And we love the pomp and circumstance.
Yes.
You know, we do. We have our flag waving and the jets coming by and you get all misty-eyed and you know, and there's a lot of Anglophiles in this country, but the amount of cover, I tweeted yesterday because I was like, I went on to CNN like this, like barely like, okay, let's check it out. And I watched about 30 seconds of it, I was like, and I'm out.
Yeah.
Because it was just so insane.
They had a woman on who they claimed was their royal correspondent. This is CNN, who also closed their Baghdad bureaus. So that tells you, really, that tells you a lot about what.
Priorities.
Yeah, but so I'm of two minds of this, because on one hand it seems crazy. You know, it's just this rich family that is taking and taking and taking from society.
Yeah.
And while they have all kinds of economic problems there, as we do here. And then on the other hand, I think there might be something good about it, because they get to get out the cult of personality on these people, where we want Obama to not only be a president and function and do stuff, but also be our hero. So I kind of think it might be good. Do you buy that theory a little bit?
I don't. I'm
You don't have
trying
to buy
to.
it. You don't have to buy it.
I'm trying to.
Yeah. Does that make any sense to you, that maybe they get some of their gossip stuff out, all the stuff that we push? You know, we want Obama to be this perfect man and play basketball perfectly and speak perfectly and be funny, where they get some of the cult of personality, all that personal stuff out with the royal family, because they don't really have jobs. So they can, you know, that way their prime minister can focus on actually
They need
working.
to put some importance on them because they don't do much, I guess, is the situation. I mean, at least we have a dual use of our leaders and our royalty.
Here's the thing that I find really interesting about this particular royal family is that I watched an amazing documentary about them, and when Queen Elizabeth was raised, her father said to her, if we are going to have any purpose in this culture, we have to be of service to this country. She was trained from day one every single day she is of service. She goes out into the community and does something, and they do try to raise their people up, and they do try to connect with them, and in a very connecting people way. And although they're rich and they got all that land and all the jewels and all that kind of stuff, and it's a fairy tale.
The big castle full of gold that they swim in. That whole
yes,
thing. Yeah.
I think in some ways it's like a more tangible service that they're in with their people than even our own politicians, who it becomes all about politics and taking sides, and now it's ridiculous because nothing works.
Right.
I think they hold a kind of a vacuum or an interesting kind of a place where there's a space where they actually can be idealized in some way. So I think you're kind of right about the cult of personality.
Does that work? Would that work for us though? Do we need to take
don't
away
think
some
so.
power from these
I
guys
don't
who are
think it would
power
work
hungry
for
and then
us, no.
control our lives?
Right.
We need to make them. Well, they're already. A lot of them are figureheads. They're controlled by other powers anyway.
Completely, yeah.
It's just those are hidden.
Yeah.
Right. So right there, it's a little more out front. So last thought on this, and this is what you were touching on earlier. Why is it that our media, and this goes to a much bigger problem, that we've had 3 weeks of nonstop 24-hour Zimmerman coverage, fine. Then we've had royal baby coverage for the last 2 days, and then yesterday, amazingly, the royal baby got knocked off because of wiener slash a dick, basically. Why can't we balance two things at once? I don't want to completely dismiss the importance of a royal baby. Okay, it's fine. But why can't we do a little of that and a little of this? We have to do 24-hour coverage of everything because we're a bunch of schmucks, I think.
We have the shortest attention span of anyone. I don't know if this spreads to also British folks, and when they have their coverage, I'm sure their coverage is just as insane, probably worse.
Yeah.
But I think the only reason we have this one-track mind is because that's what we've been pushed. And then they form our brains.
Yeah.
If they give us two things, our brains will learn to adapt.
Right.
Maybe we can absorb and consume two things at once and actually thoughtfully put it through our brains. But until we get it, we're not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, do you agree? Do you think it's just they feed us crap, so we just eat crap, pretty much?
Yeah, I think the structure of media is a corporate structure. It's all about ratings. It's not about informing people. So this is what we get.
Yeah. Do you guys remember there was apparently a revolution in Egypt a couple weeks ago? We were going to have a no-fly zone in Syria. Did you know Detroit went bankrupt? But there's a royal baby.
The story of that day, the day when the baby was born, not unborn, unnamed baby was born.
The baby was unborn. That's a whole other thing.
Really hope his name is going to be.
issue.
Yeah. Really hope his name is Lamar. But
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
that would be something.
the biggest, that story, there was one of those, I hate when people say, so while you guys are talking this nonsense, you know what real story happened? But that day, there was a prison break at Abu Ghraib, and they released, escaped
Yes.
500 prisoners
Yes.
with trucks backed in, explosives and RPGs and machine guns and firefights. I said, this is like, I mean, if anything, this is a sensational story. So you
Yeah.
can cover it and say, you see this badass fight at Abu Ghraib? But they didn't even do that.
But they didn't even do that. All right, well, I'll put a cap on this by saying that I saw a tweet from Anderson Cooper last night. He was saying, coming up on AC 360, and it was royal baby, Anthony Weiner, and a man who almost got swallowed by a whale. So that's
Anderson.
what's going on over there. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I love this one. So Iran, that wonderful beacon of justice and freedom and fairness in the world that is putting out so much positivity and so many good things and is wonderful to women and gays and all that good stuff, they're not happy with America's, the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman verdict. And the Iranian Foreign Ministry has released a statement on the verdict. The acquittal of the murderer of the teenage African American once again clearly demonstrated the unwritten but systemic racial discrimination against racial, religious, and ethnic minorities in the U.S. society. The court ruling has also seriously put under question the fairness of the judicial process in the United States. Now, many Americans actually would agree with that, and I agree with part of it, of course, but it's a little odd that Iran, where literally they stone women to death, you can be put to death for being gay. I mean, I don't have to go on and on the list of human rights violations over there, that they're doing this. Is this just all, over-the-top bravado because they want to do anything to make the U.S. look bad or divert attention from the nuclear situation?
This is the downside. As you said, many Americans would agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm one of them. But the thing is because it comes from this type of source, then it's very easy to write it off. And then for the people who do agree with it or don't want things to change or don't want a certain level of fairness to rise in our country's judicial process,
Yeah.
they'll say, well, you know where that came from? So now you agree with Iran, who has all of these human rights violations and intimidation factors for opponents of their government.
Yeah, that's a great point. So the people that are backing Zimmerman,
Yeah.
you're actually
We're gonna be
strengthening.
we're terrorists now.
Right.
Yeah, that's what they do. They just clump us together. But I think you really have to pay attention to the statement itself. And they talked about the unwritten aspect of racial. Now, see, the thing is, in Iran, it's written. It's in the laws. So what
Right.
they're saying is actually really, they have a point. They have a beef. Like if you're going to be this prejudiced and you're going to have this kind of a culture, be upfront about it, just like we are.
Right.
Because they are. And the fairness in their country, there's not a lot of fairness in their country. We claim fairness here. So I think they have a point in a sense, because they're saying, walk your walk, walk your talk. If you're going to talk a certain way, then really live that. But clearly your laws do not live up to these things you talk about in your country.
Right. Is that legit though in any way? Or is it, well, it's just not legit, right? It's just absurd because.
Yeah, but I was like,
Not
really,
to say it doesn't have a degree of truth in the essence of it.
Yes, and I don't know if that was exactly their point, but when you look at the semantics of that statement, you're like, they do use specific words, written, unwritten. I mean, these are things to think about.
And it's highlighted by when people want to bring up the issue or want to change something that the way we do things in the country. It's shush, quiet. That was a jury. You cannot disparage the decisions of a jury. They're citizens. Why can't I disparage the decisions that citizens made, especially after I hear that one of them was completely off kilter and connecting with one particular side of this case, and then completely disconnected with the other.
You're talking about B-37,
Yes,
I think.
that's. I mean, it's an indication of what our society is in this country, and so then why can't we point that out?
Yeah. Do you think we're just reaping what we sow here in America
Yes.
now? Because we tell everybody what to do all the time. So even though it's absurd for us to take a directive on morals from Iran, I mean, this is what we push across everywhere. So we're just getting it back, right?
Absolutely, and everyone's got an opinion nowadays. So Iran's got an opinion also. But I was thinking this the other day about how everyone hates jury duty in this country. We hate it. We do everything we can to get out of it, right? And then a decision like this comes down and we get pissed about it. Well, if we really want our justice system to change, we need as citizens to take responsibility, and we need to start understanding that being a member of a jury is our responsibility and a great privilege in this country. Yes, that we actually we do have a jury system, and most of the time it works right, because 12 people, this was only 6 people on the Zimmerman thing, but 12 people come together and work it out and try to interpret the law the best we can. And I'm just kind of sick and tired of people pissing and moaning about juries and what happens to them.
It could clearly be a lot worse, because it could be like how it is in Iran.
Right, where they're just judges and they just do whatever they want. And we have those kind of.
And there's 2 people in the country who would do jury duty every week. My parents. If the jury summons comes, they're like, yes!
They're excited.
Yeah.
I mean, they watch the judge shows, and then they watch the
They're ready.
judge to
They're
court
doing their
dramas,
homework.
and then they grew up in a time when it was as explicit as Iran's laws are against certain minorities.
Yes.
And they're like, I want to be on this jury. Oh, give me the case.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I was called in for jury duty a couple of months ago when I was living in New York still, and the entire time I kept thinking, I wanted to get out of it naturally, and because I'm not as good of a citizen as you want us all to be, but I kept thinking the entire time, could I plead comedian to them? Because I can't sit there and do this the way regular people are going to do it. Everything about me is going to try to make fun of the system, and I'm going to use this in a bit. You can't have that truth getting out there, and I thought, but needless to say, I didn't get picked. So there you go. All right, so Iran, keep on doing what you're doing, and
Love ya.
okay. All right, legally here at the Rubin Report, we have to do one story on the gays per week, so here we go. Russia has actually been doing a ton of anti-LGBT stuff lately. All kinds of crazy laws are coming through. It is now illegal to admit homosexuality in public. This is just a few of them that have just come in. It's illegal to equate the value of homosexual relationships with that of heterosexual relationships. Punishment doesn't apply solely to Russians. Even foreigners can be arrested and detained, fined, and deported for homosexual activity. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because, as you guys may know, the Winter Olympics in 2014 are going to be in Sochi, Russia, and a lot of people are calling for a boycott of the Olympics because of this. So the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, has issued a statement. The International Olympic Committee is clear that sport is a human right and should be available to all regardless of race, sex, or sexual orientation. The games themselves should be open to all, free of discrimination, and that applies to spectators, officials, media, and of course athletes. We would oppose in the strongest terms any move that would jeopardize this principle. Okay, that sounds really nice, but naturally there aren't going to be any openly gay Russian athletes for sure. There are a couple openly gay athletes that we had in the Summer Olympics. But the question is, now that's just a statement. It doesn't sound like they're going to do anything about this. And does the IOC have even the power? For the 2014 Winter Games are coming. I mean, this is a matter of months at this point. Can we actually do anything, or should we actually do anything? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think they can do anything. I mean, I suppose the LGBT community could come up with something boycotting or something like that. But I mean, every single country that the IOC goes into, there's some sort of horrific compromise. I mean, you know, they're going to be going to Brazil for the Summer Olympics. That's going to be very interesting. And this is just, you know, it's like, it's one thing about creating this semi-market economy here in Russia now, and they're trying to, you know, open up, but you can still see the mentality and the horrific oppression going on in that country.
And it seems to be actively getting worse. That's the weird thing.
Absolutely, yeah. It's getting
like,
darker and darker
right,
there.
this isn't like an Arab country where things have been completely backwards. This is what was a country that was becoming westernized 10 years ago that's going the other way.
And what in the article, what was the percentage of people in the culture who think that absolutely homosexuality is like bad, like
74?
Yeah.
16 explicitly think are
it's
for
okay.
it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a small amount of people. It's a very interesting culture, and it's one that I don't think we can really wrap our heads around here in the West.
Yeah, so Jayar, what do you think the IOC should do? Because, I mean, just in terms of time, just in terms of logistics, they can't switch the Olympics at this point, and we deal with tons of countries that do all kinds of horrible things.
That's the hard part. I guess because maybe I'm hoping for too much, but the way they say sport and the Olympics, it brings the world together, you know, regardless of where you're from or what your background is.
Right.
It's kind of what your job is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and maybe you can't eliminate it because there's a lot of countries in this world, and then maybe, I assume you're supposed to know, you research these countries before you dedicate an Olympics to them. I don't think this just started. I mean, maybe it was probably 4 years ago, maybe 8 years ago that they decided to go to Russia for this particular Olympics.
So this has gotten worse since the decision was made.
Yeah. And then, but it wasn't like it was great, and then it got kind of bad, and now it's worse. I don't think it was ever awesome.
No, no, it was never awesome.
And knowing or fabulous, as the case.
And the funny thing is, you know, these countries have the IOC in and the games in because it's a big PR campaign. Well, this isn't working well for Russia.
But
you know?
is it though? Because they know what they're doing, and is it that they're trying, you know, so much has changed for gay rights, and especially just in the United States alone this past couple months, and in England just passed gay marriage. So are they making a stand that they really are doubling down on, like, we're the real, still, you know, moral majority kind of?
And they'll be on the, you know, they'll be on the back edge of that because you know, the world is changing, you know, and there is something about the idealism of the Olympics, I think, about, you know, we're going to come and we're going to be role models anyway. We have it's like an open society. I've heard athletes talk about it's like this perfect world you live in for 2 or 3 weeks while you're there. Yeah. And you are crossing, there's nationality, but there really isn't because you're all athletes. So I think that is a positive thing, and I think that does shift energy in some way, and I think the people from Russia who come and have that experience, you know, maybe some minds will be shifted.
Right. And that's what the real shame is, because I'm a firm believer that all of the athletes, they dedicate their lives, especially Olympic athletes, they dedicate their lives often for very little or no money to their sport. So they don't care if the person that they're playing badminton with, or give me a winter sport, that badminton, the luge, do they care that the other guy on the luge is gay? I mean, that just doesn't seem
the ice skaters, though. You know,
yeah,
so you might have an edge. You might have an edge.
Right. Are they
the gay guys have an edge in the ice skating.
Yeah. Do you think partly that this story won't get that much traction because of a little bit of gay fatigue? Because I have a little of this myself, that we've come so far, and just in the last few months, so many good things have happened here in America. And again, I'm not trying to make everything about America, but it also happened in England, and it's happening around the world, South America, other places, that maybe you just have to let some things go, that maybe the gay think has to just sort of let this one go and keep working on the other
I think
issue.
it naturally balances itself out. I mean, you have people that are pushing every day because that's their life. That's what they're trying to do. And then you have people that, as you said, maybe have the fatigue. But in the people that are pushing, the people that are pulling back, you're maybe going to find a balance. No one should pull back if they believe in what they're doing because it's what's needed. It's what has to happen. So in this happening, it's going to slowly change. It's maybe not going to happen right away, which is because we have a lot of people that are tired of it or just are assholes.
Yeah, I think you need to
hateful.
You need to pick your battles to win the war. And this is This
I
is
think this is a big
one.
one.
It's one, but there's been a lot of battles won recently, and it's okay to actually enjoy that.
Yeah, and do you think you
and move
might
forward.
actually strengthen the war if you lose this battle? Because if you don't
Sometimes.
allow gay people to participate, or if you're jailing gay people that show up to the
It'll
Olympics,
be
you
interesting.
actually are strengthening the movement for equality. So
Yeah.
I think this
'Cause
could.
now there's a spotlight.
Yeah.
Just
They'll be
say what's
fools.
going to happen. I mean, there was I think one of the LGBT groups in these articles was saying this is going to get serious.
Yeah.
It was just giving a warning shot. This is going to get serious.
Yeah.
And left it alone. And when it gets serious, and who knows what may happen, hope nothing.
Yep.
Then people are going to remember. Hey, they said this is going to get serious. Maybe we should listen to these guys.
Right. Unfortunately, sometimes you need
Yeah.
some bad stuff to happen to get
True.
good stuff
You
to
could
come
wake
around.
us up a little.
All right, let's talk about porn. Google Glasses, which we've also been talking about a lot lately. So they're coming, and it is going to change privacy the way we know it. We're all going to be walking around recording everything. Every time you look at somebody, you can snap a picture of them. Anthony Weiner's going to love this thing. But the first porn videos are on their way, being shot with Google Glasses. XBiz and Me Candy have come out with a little trailer. This is a comedy porn trailer for what their porn will look like. Let's take a look.
Bend me over. Slap my fucking ass.
Oh my glass.
I see your technique one eye. Oh, that's better.
Yeah, it is, right? It's so much better. Glass. Nice.
I like that we're giving out tips. Oh, you're kidding me.
Maybe I should have said NSFW before that video, but okay, anyway. So yeah, that is going to be the future of porn. It's very obvious. You're going to see it. It's all going to come right out of your eyes. That sounded weird. Anywho, are you excited about the future of porn? Is the third person camera, we've all seen it already. You want a Google Glass on your face and get right up in it.
I think maybe because this was, like you said, a comedic version of what will be.
Yeah.
I still don't really know exactly what it's going to be. I'm still missing it.
Like, picture those people naked. Can you picture
And
that?
will they be
then-
looking down at the genitalia?
Yes.
Because isn't that the porn part, right?
Yeah.
We're like supposed to be looking at the genitalia?
I mean, you really can't figure out what this is going to be like.
And of course, this is pre-recorded, so as a person looking at wherever they want to look, and this again, these are logistics that inquiring minds would like to know.
Yeah.
But also, and then the funny part of it, I think, was, he checked out her shoes and he said, "Oh, you can get these for different prices." All
that
these
was really
things.
good, yeah.
That was the best part of it. I
Yeah.
thought. And
Right.
so in those, will it link to? Oh yeah, say a woman is watching the porn. She goes, "I like that lingerie set." It actually does look it up.
And you will look it up, and
Right.
you will be able to buy it. So porn is going to truly become a multitasking
Commerce.
thing,
It's
because
all about
porn right
commerce.
now is one thing.
Right.
But you'll be able to sell stuff.
Someone will be selling butt plugs right during the porn thing.
That's the first time we've said butt plugs on the show.
I'm so proud. Aren't you proud of me, Dad? The Google Glass thing, just in general.
Yeah.
I am not wanting this for our culture. I
Completely
do not
agree.
want this. I am afraid of it. We were talking TiVo earlier, just how that changed our life. I was at a big event, a big YouTube event. Guy was walking around with the Google Glasses. All I kept saying all night was, "Who's the asshole in the Google Glasses?"
Which he then recorded and uploaded.
He probably did, but this is not good. This
Yeah.
is not okay. I'm not happy with this. Stop.
Okay, so we'll get back to the porn part in a second, but let's follow that for a little bit. So yes, I completely agree. I don't even think we have even the slightest grasp on how deeply this is going to change how humans interact. In 2 years from now, if we're all wearing these, we're going to be recording everything constantly. There will be no private conversations. I mean, we've already lost half of that between NSA and all that stuff. That's something else altogether. What's your general thoughts on the Google Glass, this idea of everything being recorded and uploaded and tracked?
And just, I'm thinking everything. We just with our cell phones. Think about the evolution of a cell phone. I remember just in college, and I graduated in 02. Our first phone still had the green screen. They're the size of this wall. You still had to flip them open.
Yeah.
And just where it's grown since then, in these 11 years, and where this is the base version. This is the archaic version of Google Glasses. And what's on it next? You know, you have people with their phones filming people without them knowing it. Upskirts and all that stuff, putting on their toes and walking under women. This is all, I mean, so with just glasses on your face, people just wear dark sunglasses. You don't know where their eyes are.
Right.
Yeah.
So when this goes, they're recording now whatever it is.
And we're basically creating a matrix.
Yes.
We're creating the Matrix, the movie The Matrix. That's what we're creating. We're all recording everything constantly. We're creating this alternate digital world, and who's gonna control it and own it? And it's scary.
I'm hoping this will help us all learn to say no to this just rampant progressive technology that we're not getting to vote on, we're not getting to decide how it like the long term, 2, 5, 10, 20 years out, this stuff exponentially, you know, progresses in an incredible way. We need to stop saying no to some of this stuff and just, yes, it's cool, fine, but just because it's cool doesn't mean it's going to help us survive as a species.
When do we stop speaking to each other? 'Cause it's gonna happen soon.
Right. I mean, this is all of us ultimately becoming those fat people in WALL-E. Remember the movie WALL-E?
Totally.
Where we all end up in these chairs and we order our big soda. And this is Mike Bloomberg's nightmare, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I agree with you, and I don't know. Has there ever been a technology that's been given to us or created or invented that we didn't use? You know what I mean? Anything that's beta tapes, really, that's the one.
Because they were quality better than everything else, we rejected them for some reason.
Exactly. No, but really, besides beta tapes, that is really the only.
True.
I mean, everything. If we come up with the technology to create a nuclear bomb, we do drop it.
Yep.
I mean, is there anything that I mean, that's sort of just what humanity is, and maybe that's why ultimately we're going to destroy ourselves one day because we just can't
We're a
stop.
pack society, and imagine if you now say who has a smartphone? 98% of the population. Maybe that's too high of a number. I'd go with 80. Fine,
That's a lot of people.
I'll go with 80.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you see someone, if they walk down the street with a Nokia square brick phone,
Yes.
you're gonna make fun of them.
You
to their
do.
face. You're
You
gonna go,
do.
what the fuck is this guy carrying?
go, oh,
and then
this
so
sorry sad
now,
person.
if everybody's walking down the street with their Google glasses in 10 years and their Google super glasses plus, and you don't have anything on your face, and you go, look at this
Look at
loser.
that
What the hell's wrong
loser.
with you? And you gotta go get it. Because the Google store down the street just released this new
the
this new
newest
promotion
one, right.
to you only pay $100 and it's actually $1,000. After 10 more years, you pay the rest of it off. You have to have it now, or else you're a loser.
I don't believe in a God, but I will pray to God that we don't turn our culture into this.
You will pray to the thing you don't believe.
Well,
That's
how upset I am about these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's bring it back to porn for 1 second
Yes.
here.
Let's bring it back to
So, you know,
porn.
Google has already said that they're not going to have porn apps in their app store. So, Me Candy, I think that's an Android app store that's going to deal with the porn stuff. But why is it that these companies are so anti-porn? I don't expect morals to come from my technology companies like Apple and Samsung and Google,
Well,
but yet they feel the need to block that stuff out instead of just letting us click a box saying I'm over 18.
It is interesting because the porn industry has always been the leadership in new technology. They, with VHS tapes, they changed, you know, how
That
people
partially killed beta.
pretty much, you know, and everything. The internet, they were leaders in the internet, and
It didn't kill Master Beta.
So it is interesting, but I think it is these technology companies saying, you know, no, we want to guide, you know, we want to be in charge of how we control the minds of the future.
But is it are they really
must-
having some moral stand here?
I
Do you
can't
think?
imagine. It's an interesting moral stand.
They're still afraid of our knee-jerk society. Penis. Remember we talked about how the whole conversation changed for news because Anthony Weiner's penis is back in the news?
Yes.
So as soon as, if it's anything with sex, you have to go, well, we don't have anything to do with sex because, you know, that would disparage our reputation because America is a bunch
We
of...
don't have sex in America.
Yeah,
we
don't
just
do that.
obsess on
We
it
hide
24 hours a day.
Yeah, everything we do is we hide it. So
Yes, we have no
in doing that,
connection.
if you're out in front with it, you're going to be considered, there's a bunch of dirty names for you. You're a smut peddler.
Yeah.
So smut peddlers cannot be associated with this technology company.
Right.
We're doing this for informational purposes. We're Google
Right,
Glass.
right, right. We're doing something lofty and good here for
And
humanity.
they've got to have government regulation on board to do whatever they want with their technology. And as we know, there's a lot of people in government these days who have a lot to say about bodies. A lot of the people on the right wing don't want anything to do with bodies and smut and women and all of that. And I think it's a general, also just thinking about it, how disconnected we are from our bodies anyway, and technology disconnects you even more, that it's kind of interesting that they're like, we don't even want you connecting to like the most basic thing about your body with our technology.
Right, and just wait, we're in the middle of this Wienergate 2 right now. I mean, just wait. He was doing it on Twitter. But, time will come when somebody on Google Glasses, there's going to be a girl kneeling beneath some senator and looking up at the,
Boy, that'll be exciting to see your senator's penis on a Google Glass.
Live.
Yes,
as he's signing some bill that he'd never read. You know what I mean? Oh, I read the bill, and then...
Right.
Yeah. Maybe the last layer is wait till they get hacked. You're
And-
looking through
yeah.
Google Glass
Yes.
and someone down the street has now got your eyesight.
Yeah, wow.
It's over, dude.
Fascinating.
It's over.
Crazy.
Again, I don't know how this works, but it's going to work.
All right, well, let's stick with privacy for a little bit. So black boxes, which are usually thought of as in airplanes, that's where they get all the data after there's a crash or something. Right now, they're actually in 90% of all new vehicles sold in the United States, which is a crazy amount. And by 2014, if the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has its way, it'll be in all new cars sold in America. And I think this is interesting because it goes to all this privacy stuff that we've been talking about. The government's watching your metadata on your emails and on your phone calls. And then in terms of with the car, if you have Easy Pass or one of those things, they know what bridge you're going over and when you're doing it. And now they're going to have the black box, which is going to tell them how fast you're going and if you went through a red light and all that stuff. Does this ever end? I mean, this again is the technology thing, but does this stuff ever really end in any sort of good way for regular people?
I would think it's okay to a point, but the problem is as soon as the insurance companies came in and said they'd like to know about how this is working, and we're going to do this for your safety, I don't trust any insurance company. I just don't trust you. I'm going to do the story really quickly. My car was scratched in a parking lot when you leave your keys with the attendant. And there was a lot of people at work. It was our last few lots ago. And I asked him, I said, did you scratch? He goes, oh no, I don't even know when that happened. So I said, someone must have scratched by it. So I go through their insurance company for the lot. I was like, well, you own the lot. Is there some way through this? The first response, before they even assessed the information was, oh, well, no, it's complete. Why would it be our fault? Has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
When it's in your,
print on your ticket, maybe.
I would enjoy if you at least act like you looked at the situation.
Yes.
Pretend
like you're doing your job.
Yeah. So I don't trust them. I'm worried with my
I almost
insurance
think
company.
you're
if
pro
something
black
happens.
box by what you're saying because the black box will record the scratch and then you'll be able
but
to.
the reason is because I'm now that guy who's thinking, but what do they do to fiddle with this black box? There's technology behind the black box.
Right.
And can I trust what information they've collected from this black box?
Yeah.
Because then they're gonna say, JR, you were going 100 miles an hour. I was like, I swear I was going 65.
Right, so they'll be able to tag you for speeding all the time. Again, know what bridges you're going over and how fast you're
I don't know if
doing
they're
it.
gonna lie about it.
And you're using Google Maps already to get wherever you're going, so
Yeah.
they know where you're going. I don't want to play everything into this paranoid state, but it's all sort of legit, and we kind of need to talk about it, right?
It is, and it once again, it's the slippery slope with this stuff. It's like, oh, well, it's in there. How do we go back? How do we draw a line with this? I mean, this is a device in my car that I own. I own that device. And you're telling me I have no control over the information inside of it? What the fuck is going on here?
Right, because if you want a car, if they get their way,
do I have a choice to turn it off? Am I allowed to do that? Can I opt out? Maybe that would be a nice little thing. Maybe we could lobby for an opting out because we should be able to do that.
You take $3,000 off the price of my car if you don't have it in there. Or maybe if you get some control of it, here, you pay the extra $3,000.
Yeah. I think we have an image of the black box, by the way. Let's take a look and see what a black box looks like.
Wow.
It's not even black.
It's silver.
For all that. It's just it's a little metal box.
And if you run across it, you have no idea.
Well, and here's the thing too is that, almost every single, I haven't been in an accident in a long time, knock on wood, but the two that I was in that were bad, the other person lied through their teeth. So in some ways, it's like if this thing does have true information, and we were all to use it in a really, justified way, it could be a good thing.
Of course, but that's just like the
But there's a lot
NSA
of
stuff.
ifs
like,
in there.
Right. I mean, and do
Yeah.
the ifs ever? That's the thing, and that's the problem with all the spying and all this stuff. The ifs are what we're all afraid of,
Yes.
and those are the things that end up.
And that's what our Constitution generally in the past used to protect us against.
Yeah.
All of those gray area ifs, benefit of the doubt kind of things. And that's all going away. There's no more benefit of the doubt for any of us. We're all in service of this other thing. And I was just thinking the other day, just even the term big data, which is what they use, it's such a 1984 doublespeak thing. It doesn't mean anything. It sounds cool. IBM has commercials about it. It's got graphics.
Yeah.
It's got its own PR agency, obviously. But if I was listening to an interview with Edward Snowden this morning, and it was like hearing him talk, and it was like, wow, when you get down to what these people are really, really doing, big data is just such a whitewashing of what's going on. It's just...
Yeah. All right. So we'll go with a little jump off that then. How much of this is just they let us know about this kind of stuff? We find out about the NSA stuff. We find about black boxes in our cars and phone tapping and all that stuff. How much of it is actually not even the literal stuff that they're doing, but the real value in it is just the fear that's created around it? You know what I mean? At this point, it makes no difference whether they catch Snowden or whatever, but there's now a sense of fear. People have already said that the informants are being quieter now, people are losing contact, so it's really about fear more than the specific little instances, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course, if they get the chance to get Edward Snowden, they're going to get him.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they're thinking, well, at least there's not going to be any others. Because do you want to go through this?
Right.
Do you want to sit in
You
the?
wanna
I
ruin
think it
your
was
life?
the transit center in
Yeah.
Russia.
In Russia, and we know how great Russia is, right?
He's definitely not wearing anything with a rainbow on it, because that was part of that law too. Then he can sit in the
Thank God
transit
he's
center as long as he
heterosexual.
can.
How sick of Panda Express he must be at this point. Like, is he just have to go to the food court every day? Like, where is he? Really? No one's talking about it. Doesn't anyone have Google Glass at the Russian airport?
There's got to
Like,
be a borscht buffet or
There's
something
got-
there. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get to the final story. A lot of technology this week. Apple, you have heard of them. You're probably watching this on some sort of Apple device, either a MacBook or an iPhone or an iPad or something else. They sold 31.2 million iPhones last quarter, but believe it or not, they're not doing that well. Let's take a look at some numbers. So this is Apple sales and profit, and you can see that their profit has fallen 22% in the past quarter. Their stock has dropped 40% in the last 10 months. That seems completely crazy to me. And in the current quarter, they're expected to underperform Wall Street expectations. And I think this leads to a lot of interesting stuff, because is this about just sort of general technology fatigue? We've definitely had a theme in this episode. I didn't even intend on it being that way. Is this general technology fatigue? Is there something about Apple that we're all starting to get a little tired of? They have this new commercial now where
Made in California.
Made in California,
And
and
make it all
it's
warm and fuzzy.
yes. Oh no, it doesn't say made in California. It says designed in
designed.
California.
I'm sorry, right, because it's not made. It's
right,
not made. The
because they
conversation
don't.
we were having.
Right, because they don't say made
can't
in
be
China.
saying that.
They
Yep.
say designed in
Yeah.
California, and it feels very lovely.
And you're
and
basically
pleasant.
back in Steve Jobs' garage with him. That's the kind of vibe they're trying to get you to reconnect to.
Yeah. So are we having a little Apple fatigue right now, that this stuff, we all have all of this stuff now, and that maybe they're becoming, they did that famous 1984 commercial
Yeah.
way back when,
They were the
trying to take
underdogs.
down Microsoft, but now they've become the monolith.
I'm willing to say I don't know where this is coming from, because I don't see any fatigue amongst anybody. I mean, they may get sick of the products at times, but they don't stop buying it. I don't see any of that happening. I don't.
Right, it's cool to say you're sick of it.
Yeah.
You have an iPhone, I assume?
No.
You don't?
I'm one of
Rebel.
those. I'm one of those. Yeah.
a rebel.
What do you got?
I'm an Android. I'm the Galaxy user.
Wow. I wish they would have told me that
And
before we
and
booked you.
the same with the tablet. Yeah, I did
I'm not
the
talking to
phone
him now.
and,
Yeah.
and the user. But my girlfriend has the exact opposite. She has the iPad and she has all the Apple
Yeah.
products. She has the MacBook and all this stuff. So she pushes that side. So it's still in the house. So it's still permeating the finances somewhere in the household. So
Right.
it works that way. So everyone has it connected with it in some way. But as we were speaking about earlier, what are you going to go to? the next that is just as much of a pain in your ass as the one before. And each of them has their pluses and their minuses. I don't know how this is going down again. I'm stumped.
Yeah.
I think it's two things. I think there is a little bit of Apple fatigue. I think we have lost connection to the brand because Steve Jobs died. But I also think this is a bunch of Wall Street bullshit. This is all this is to me. This is
Right, that's why I didn't get too in depth. Let's throw those numbers up again.
Your
for just a second.
$7 billion in profits isn't enough for Wall Street.
Right.
This is the endless cancer growth that Wall Street wants. It's about endless growth. It's about endless progress. Nothing on the planet of the natural world has endless growth except for cancer. And Wall Street, and we have no concept in our economy anymore about limitations. That if it doesn't keep growing, that if it's plateauing, it's all a fear. It's like this company is clearly going through changes. Yes, I think there is some general fatigue about like what is the, when the iPod came out, it was like, oh, gotta have that iPhone, gotta have that iPad. Yes, they're figuring it out. What's going to be the next iteration in all of this?
Yeah.
But this is Wall Street bullshit. This is the stuff I hate about our economy, that it's run by your earnings each quarter.
Right, because they're
and we live and die by these things.
Right, and they're saying that they sold 31.2 million iPhones in the quarter. That's an incredible amount. I think it might be their best quarter ever, and yet it's still, because of the Wall Street numbers, it still makes it seem like something ain't right.
Right, yeah. It's a skewed, it's skewed standards, and we've all bought into, we got to hear the Wall Street numbers, the Dow Jones numbers today, and it's like this, for the most part, is meaningless to 99% of us.
Now, does it transcend to consumers now to hear these numbers and say, oh, I love Apple products.
Right.
I need to go buy more to make sure they stay afloat.
Maybe, yeah.
That's a really messed up person if they're like, oh man, Apple
I
only
gotta
made
help my
400.
Apple out.
Yeah.
You're thinking like it's the mom and pop shop down the street from where you grew up. You're like, let's support our mom and pop shop so they can stay afloat. Do we think that about these super corporations too?
And I have a little other version of that, which is we do try to find meaning in these numbers because we don't really are connected to them. So we think, maybe Apple isn't doing as well. And so I think maybe some people then may pull back from the brand a little bit to see like, well, maybe they're not the coolest thing out there. Let's see what's going to happen. Google's got this, all these other weird shit's coming out.
I do think it's possible that they're a victim of their own success in this way. I actually got a new MacBook or Air or whatever a couple months ago, and when I went into the store, they greet you immediately, and the guy, I knew I was going to get one. It was very obvious from the initial. I wasn't. You're not haggling over price at Apple. You're taking it, and that's it. But I felt that the guy was so dismissive. Like they know you're walking in to buy it.
Agreed.
Like they think they're so cool. Like, yeah, you want this thing. Let's just do this. And it's like maybe they actually are suffering from their own success.
I agree, and I've had some bad service there, and we've gotten some response from some managers because of that. But the thing is, at Christmas time, my husband and I went to the mall, and there was the Apple store, and then there was a new Internet Explorer store, and they wear the t-shirts like the Apple store. They had designed it just like the Apple store. There were 2 customers in the Internet Explorer store, 25 guys working there, women working there. You couldn't even get near the Apple store. There was a line to get in, and it was like, okay, no matter what, Apple's fine. Apple's doing fine.
They're doing okay.
Yeah.
Now, how do we get you to get on Apple? Because they need you, man.
We do. We need
They
you.
need you.
My stock needs you.
These I've tweeted about this as well. Like I just have my things about iPhone, iPad users. First of all, your phone is never charged. Every time you come to anyone's house, there's a barbecue, there's a party. Does anyone have an Apple charger? Does anyone have a charger?
Battery
I
issues.
lost my charger. Oh no, I left it in the car. I said, well, if it's never charged, bring it with you. Okay, this is just hating on you guys.
Yeah. Just let it out. Let it out.
But then it's one of our other coworkers. He got his iPhone, dropped it at the corner, hit the floor. It was a carpeted store. Whole screen shattered. Is this screen made of like the thinnest of thin glass? I don't get it. I've seen 30% of people with iPhones have a cracked screen.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to talk to the manufacturers in China because it's only designed
in California.
They designed the paper thin glass here, but then they create it in China.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, I want to thank my guests, Kelly Carlin and Jayar Jackson. Oh, I do want to, by the way, I make fun of all the time on Twitter, all the factual errors that CNN and all the news organizations make, and I might have made 3 tiny errors last week's show, and I want to address it because I'm no bad. This will be my mea culpa. I pronounced the word verses as verse, and someone said it's verses. I thought verse. I thought it was just verse.
Are you actually reading the comments?
Because of the third one that I'm going to get to. I don't read the comments really, but I did because of the third one. I made a real error.
I don't want to string you too long, but this is like, say, the New England Patriots versus the Indianapolis Colts.
I said verse.
Okay.
I said something verse,
Sounds like
so
just
that
a
was one.
slight mistake.
I want to address that, and I will put that in my brain. The next one, I said the word disingenuous, which is that not a word?
I thought it
Two
was.
people claimed it wasn't a word. Can anyone confirm?
pretty sure it's a word.
It is a word?
Yes.
All right, I retract that apology. Okay, so now
According to us.
Change
all right.
that apology to a fuck you and move
Okay.
on.
Okay. And finally, and this one was sort of a slight factual error. We were talking about Twitter in France and free speech, and I somehow implied that only the United States has free speech, but I was talking about our Bill of Rights, that we have the Bill of Rights here. Obviously, the United States is not the only country to have free speech. And actually, I'm not even sure we have it here, so there you go. Anyway, thank you guys. We'll do this again. Oh, subscribe. There's a button. It's red. It's right down there. Click it. These will come to your emails. It's nice and simple, and we'll do it again next week. All right, thank you.